Hi folks, we're starting on our experiential learning and youth leadership journey, and with the goal of enabling your young generation, that means your young people at school, to make big changes to the world, to create a better world, to be precise, to change lives and land, for example through edible landscapes or grand permaculture gardens to improve the food situation. But there's many other things to do as well. So we want these people to become able to live creating a better world, or to live change making as their sport. Like others play sports, and not just a little bit, but like athletes many times a week, because that is when the performance makes big impact, truly uplifting audiences, which is your population. So for this we need to make space and time for them, an enabling environment. That means we wish that your school students can form a student club, a changemaker student club, during school hours and beyond school hours, in the afternoon. Because just like in sports, we can educate in sports, physical education for 2 hours maybe, but the real performance happens in a sports club after school hours for many hours with much training and much performance. So that is why we want to form an after-school club, that the young people learn to manage themselves, because that is youth leadership. They take the responsibility, they act like adults, because they act for their own goals with true relevance for society. And they can do so, as we have seen from examples from children around the world, that they can do this from age 9 or even age 5. You will learn more stories. So, and here is step number 1, that is, we need to build on what we achieved in the first encounter with a few students, that they get to see teenage heroines, role models, who embody different model solutions, many of which resonate with them, that they would like to see in their own community. So the first step will be to get the story set into the school, well visible and accessible to everybody. Not just with a short-term presentation, but with the story set that's accessible, but not just as a story set that is small like a book and invisible, but it needs to be present and visible at all time, all through the year, just like big street advertising posters. So that means we need a poster exhibit. Okay, you can begin with the small posters, then we should aim at having the big double-page posters. So we're talking about investment of $20, $50 or $100, depending, And this way we make it omnipresent at all time. And that gives students liberty to explore at their own time, when they're in the mood. Because we have people that are busy, that have to run home to do chores, who are traumatized, that need to study for exams, So when it's there all the time, accessible in a public space where everybody can pass by any time, also before school, during recess, in afternoons, maybe even on weekends, if the learn space is open on weekends, they have opportunity to explore. And then the next step is, the next very striking experience of the first encounter was the inspired students' feedback. So we want the students, we want the harvest, we want them to express their perception, their surprise, their passion, their specific interest. So most of the students wanted to learn more about that hero, some about this one. Each is important. So we want to hear this. You found it inspiring as a teacher, as a foundation NGO coach, and we find it inspiring. So it will also be inspiring for millions of other teachers, parents, and deciders around the world, that the young people in South Sudan who are in this program that you are launching right now are so inspired. They are worth investing. We want to help them build on this. They are so inspired. We want to have this in our school in Sudan also. They are so inspired. We want to have this in our school in Nigeria. That means your students' expression will inspire others. So that means your students then suddenly gain role model value. You see? And then in a while, your students will get to hear from you, people in this other location, they got to see your videos, how you liked it. They were so inspired. Now they have joined our program because they want it for their students as well. You know? And it will, of course, also be especially important for other young people, for teenagers. Because they see your videos and they see, wow, if they find it so cool, it has to be great. It's not like adults say it's great and important for you. No, it's the teenagers that are fascinated. That means it has to be cool. We want this too. You see? So the first thing is we give your students an opportunity to express themselves. It's public speaking. At the same time, it is an experience in positive change media culture, how to inspire other people and enable them for action, you know, by getting the stories, also doing testimonials, launching the program, joining our community, and how do I record a good video, you know? So there's no need, like in this format right now, there is no need to show the feet, all right? You take the bust up, you know? Also, it should not be against the sun and the bright sky, because then my face is dark. So you need to look out for a good lighting. Then you should have a stable camera, because if it's moving like this the whole time, it becomes really difficult to listen to me and to enjoy it, because the feeling is not enjoyable. Because when I watch a movie or when I watch a film, it's not just my mind that's involved, but also my feelings, you know? So then finally, you will notice this from YouTube shows, to make a good, interesting video, you do not have a dull background like this, because if you have to listen to me like this for 7 minutes, it's unbearable, because the mind gets bored. Because your mind has many parts and not all of them want to listen to what I say about our project. So that is why YouTube shows, they actually give you an interesting background in the studio. There may be some little lights, there may be a lamp, there may be some artwork, something funny, yeah. So that other parts of your inner child are interested in exploring while you're still listening, you know, it helps. So here, luckily today, we have sort of a pleasant, neutral background that is not taking away your attention, and at the same time, it helps listen to what I say, you know, and then don't make it too long. So this is now 8 minutes. I did a version before that was 20 minutes. It's also worth listening to. So your student testimonials should be about 30 seconds, a minute, you know, not 5 seconds. Because if they are shy and they don't know how to capture and formulate their feelings, and they just say, I found it inspiring. How does that help anyone who wants to watch this? We all know it's inspiring, and you've got to be more detailed. I found most touching when he was talking to the labor children, the forced, like the bonded labor children, you know, or I found it so amazing that he's doing this at age 9. I found so amazing they have achieved to do this in a refugee camp, though they have even less resources than we do. I found so amazing that she started at age 5. I find unbelievable the heart and the love, how as a 14-year-old she spends days per week in homeless shelters to teach the children creative skills, to have a chance to pursue a learning journey and get a job, you know. So I find so touching that they raise books for indigenous people, because here nobody cares about indigenous people or calls them, dehumanizes them as savages, you know. So we want to hear those details. What is it that touches your individual students? Because your students are very different characters, you know. Some are warriors, some are healers, you know, gentle, some are planters, really hands-on, you know. So we need to serve them all, and that is why it's important that the hero exhibit shows so many different heroes, not just a Nelson Mandela who talks of justice, because then you don't notice how to get justice and economic justice you need to plant permaculture gardens. You know, we are 30 years later, and South Africa hasn't planted permaculture gardens for food abundance and to alleviate poverty. Nelson Mandela's speeches didn't help with that, though. It's very simple. So you need to have these warriors, but you also need planters and healers, you know. You need some that are bad, fortitude, badass and rad. But then you also need the gentle ones, so all your different students, they feel that they are part of this. And then you need the silly ones, yeah, because that is so funny. Because change in the broken world, it's so serious and sad. Yeah, you need the silly ones. We're just gonna play and we're gonna raise money for this and that. We're just gonna play and we are gonna invite children to visit the permaculture garden. We're just going to do a funny theater play to get people in public and to talk about violence, gender violence and rape. We're going to do it in a funny way. Ah, yeah. You know, so there are ways to do this. So that is how we have these different types in the poster set. And you, as an educator, you should know all the stories. And then you observe the different types of the young people, how they respond. Who are the planters? Who is a siren who can learn to sing these same amazing songs like some of the heroes do, you know, and so on. So the first task is get the story set, get the poster set, expose all students, harvest testimonials. That'll be exciting. There is so much learning, so much confidence in them that they feel heard. Many of the girls, many of the young people in Germany, but the same in your place, have never spoken with passion and fortitude about their values and what they don't like about the broken world of adult generations, because they are to be obedient and to learn from adults how to create a good world. Yes, but adult generations are failing to provide them a good world. So there is something new to learn, you know, and these young people, they might have a good sense of what is good and not so good because they didn't give up. They have not started taking suffering as granted and to be hopeless. So your young people, we need to hear their voices. Then for girls, it may be the very first time. You know, I heard that in many regions, girls are not meant to speak in public. So it might be a first time. How can we entitle them to feel entitled? Because if they look in the poster exhibit, which only shows high impact teenagers, high impact is why we choose them for the poster set. And you will see that 75% are girls. 1 boy, 3 girls. Why is that so? There are reasons. You can think of it yourself. And that is why letting the girls live their passion, their warrior spirit, as the daughters of God, and to be part, express themselves, radiate, and to freely feel and move around, be silly, be serious, and to just create a world and to be more awesome. So that is the first task. I think despite all my talking around the task, you remember the tasks. So you take those gems and now you get to work.